Hi friends, Sunil here. Welcome to this channel. In this session, we are going to discuss data type in Python called tuples. In the previous session, we have discussed the data type lists. Lists are similar to arrays in C. In an array, you can have data only of the same type, whereas in the case of list, you can have any data type. You can have integer, float, string, etc. Now coming back to tuples, just like lists, tuples are also an ordered sequence of items. The main difference is that the tuples are immutable. You cannot change the values, unlike lists which are mutable. Once a tuple is created, we cannot add, modify or delete the items in the tuple. The other difference is that in tuple we have parentheses, whereas in the case of list we have square brackets. The items, just like lists in tuples, are also separated by commas. You can have any number of items in a tuple. So here we are having integer, string and float data type. And index starts from 0 and ends with n minus 1, where n is the number of item. In this case, the number of item is 5. So n minus 1 is 4. So index starts from 0 and ends with 4. Python also supports negative indexing. So minus 1 will be 3.142, this item, the last item. Minus so. Now let us see some examples. This is creating empty tuples. You can create empty tuples in two ways. Empty tuple and parentheses with no items in it. And you can create empty tuple using the tuple function also. So I am creating empty tuples in both the ways, and let us run and see this. So this empty tuples. This I have created with parentheses and this with the tuple function, using the tuple function. Now you can initialize it with values. Here tuple 1, using the parentheses, I am initializing it with values 1 pi 3.14. Tuple 2 also I am initializing with the same values, but using the tuple function. We will print the tuples created in both the ways. So by using the parentheses, I am creating the first tuple, and this the second tuple I am creating by using the tuple function. So both the ways you can create a tuple. You can add values to in a tuple. Now tuple can be created without parentheses also. So here tuple 1 I am creating with parentheses, and tuple 2, tup 2 I am creating without parentheses. See, it is giving me the same result. Tup 1 I am creating with parentheses, and tup 2 I had created without parentheses. Both are giving me the same result. So you can create a tuple with or without parentheses, but it is better to use parentheses. Now when we are creating a tuple with a single element, thing to be noted is that you should put a comma at the end. Otherwise, it will not consider it as a tuple, but it will consider the type as a string. For example, here I am creating a tuple with only one item, that is maths, and next tuple I am creating with item maths and a comma after that. And I am displaying the type of both the tuples. So first tuple, the type is string because I have not put the comma at the end. So it is not taking it as a tuple. In the second case, when I am putting the comma, the class is tuple. So when we are creating a tuple with a single element, you have to always put a comma at the end. The conversion of a list into a tuple. So you can convert a list to tuple. In this case, I am having a list comprising of elements 1, 2, 3, x, y, z and 3.14. With using the tuple function, I am converting that list into a tuple, into tuple 1 and printing the tuple. So the tuple elements are the same elements which were there in the list, but the square bracket has changed to parenthesis. So we have converted this list into a tuple. Now the next is nested tuple. This is a nested tuple. My tuple is having the values ABC, then a list containing elements 1, 2, 3 and 6, 7, 8, another tuple. So I am printing this tuple and also printing the length of this tuple. The length of this tuple will be 3 because it will consider each of this as one element, ABC as one element and this list as another element and this tuple as another element. So 3 elements will be, length will be 3. So this is the nested tuple. It is getting printed here with, and the length is 3. It is considering this list as a single item. So 1, 2 and 3 items are there. Now accessing values is same as that of list. In case of tuples, when we are accessing values, we use the square bracket. Now here I am having a tuple 1, 10, 20 Python and another list containing Hindi and English as items and 5.8. So print tuple 1 will print the, from the tuple, it will pick up the item at index 1, that is 0, 1, that it will print 20. 20 will be printed. Then print 2 colon. 2 colon means it will print the items from 2 onwards, index 2 onwards. That is index 2 is Python, so Python onwards all the items will be printed. Now to print 3, 1 means it will pick up the element at index 3, that is 0, 1, 2 and 3. It will pick up this list and within that list 1 is English, 0 is Hindi and 1 is English, so it will print English. And it will print the, then it will print the length of the tuple which is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So here it is 20, then it will print 2 colon means it will printing all the items from index 2 onwards, that is Python, Hindi. Then after that 3, 1 means it will pick the third element at the third index and then within that it will print 1 element at index 1, that is 0 is in the English, so it is printing English and the length of this tuple is 5. Now slicing of the tuple. Tuple 1 I am having these elements 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Tuple 2 I am slicing this tuple 1. Tuple 2 is equal to tuple 1 bracket colon 5. Colon 5 means it will pick up the elements before index 5. It will pick up the elements before index 5 and I am printing that elements here. Then tuple 3 is tuple 1 5 colon means it will pick up the elements from 5 onwards including 5 and print. So let us see the output of this. So here tuple 2 colon 5 means it will pick the elements before the fifth index, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. In index 5 the element is 2. So all the items before that will be printed, that is 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9, that is this. Then tube 3 means elements from 5 onwards, from index number 5 onwards, including index 5, that is index number 5 is 2, I am having element 2 at index 5. So from there onwards, that element onwards, it will print, that is 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10, so that is getting printed here. 5 colon means from 5 onwards including the element with index 5, that is 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10 have got printed here. Now here I am having my tube 1 English, Hindi, Malayalam, and tube 2 I am having elements 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. So print colon 1 means it will print the elements before index 1. So tube 1 colon 1 means it will from the tube 1, that is tuple 1, it will print the elements before index 1. So index 0 is English, index 1 is Hindi. So before 1 it is English, so it will print English. Here tube 1 colon 2 means before 2, that is index 2 is Malayalam. So before 2 we are having English and Hindi, so English and Hindi will be printed. So first English will be printed, then English and Hindi will be printed. After that tube 2 1 colon 5 means starting from index 1 till 1 less than index 5, that is 4. Elements starting from index 1 till index 4, that is 1 less than index 5, till index 4 will be printed. That is starting from index 1, that is 20, till 1 less than index 5 means 4. So index 5 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Index 5 it is 60. So index 4 is 50. So 20 to 50 will be printed. Elements from index 1 to index 4 will be printed. That is 20, 30, 40 and 50 will be printed. So let us execute this. See. Colon 1 means only English has got printed. Colon 2 means English and Hindi have got printed. And tube 2 1 colon 5 means starting from index 1 till index 4, that is 20, 30, 40 and 50 have got printed. Now I have already told you the difference between list and tuple is that lists are mutable and tuples are not. Here I am trying to change the value of the element at index 3 of tube 2, that is the fourth element of tube 2, that is 40. So I am trying to change this element 40 to 45. It is giving me this error, expression cannot contain assignment. So that means we cannot change the value elements of a tuple. That means tuples are immutable. Now tuple assignment. Here there is a tuple called employee date, employee detail, employee date, which is having all these elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 elements. Now this employee date tuple, which is having 6 elements, that I am assigning to variables. So there are 6 variables 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So the corresponding element from the tuple will be assigned to the variable, corresponding variable, that is 10456 will be assigned to employee ID, Akshay will be assigned to the first name, Sunil to the last name, Mumbai to city, 1998 will be year of birth and Kollam will be the birthplace. Then I am printing the first name and year of birth. So I am getting the output as Akshay and 1998 as year of birth. So this is how we assign a tuple to a list of variables and print it. Now next is the swap function, swap. So here I am having value x as 3, y as 5, then x comma y is equal to y comma x. The values of x and y will be interchanged by this with this statement. By using this statement, x comma y is equal to y comma x, the values will be interchanged. Normally in other languages, when we write the code for swap, we have to store the value of x in a temporary variable, and then we have to swap the values. But here we don't need the temporary variable, we can do it directly. So I am printing the values of x and y here, the changed values after the swap. So x has become 5 and y has become 3. After swapping, x has become 5, which was initially 3, and y has become 3. The function can return more than one value by returning a tuple. So here function can return more than one value. The tuples can contain more than one value, so function can return a tuple. So here in this case, this is the function add sub, and I am having two parameters a and b. So here print tuple. Before that I am calling the function here add sub xy. That means add sub function is called with the parameters x and y. X and y are having values 20 and 15. X and y are having values 20 and 15. So on calling this function add sub xy, it will come here, a will be 20 and b will be 15. The value of x will be passed to a, y will be passed to b. So it will become 20 and 15. A is 20 and 15. Then sum is equal to a plus b, that is 35. 20 plus 15, 35, and difference is 20 minus 15, that is 5 will be stored in variable diff. Then it is returning sum and difference. So it will return 35 as sum and 5 as difference. So that return will come here to this tube, and I am printing the tube and the type of tup, the tuple. So let us execute this and see. So here I am printing the tuple, that is 35 and 5. So the function has returned a tuple, and that returned tup is of the type tuple, is of the class tuple. So we are returning a tuple from a function and printing it. So we can also return more than one values. Suppose if I want the sum and difference to be returned to separate variables s and d, so I can call the function here, and on the left side I can assign the values s and d. I can assign the variables s and d. So sum and difference will be returned separately. Sum will come to s and difference will come to d. The values of sum and diff returned by this function is received in variables s and d and printed separately. So the value of s is for 35 and d is 5. So in this way the values can be returned from a function either as tuples or as separate variables. So next is variable length argument tuple. Here I am defining a function sum tot and a tuple star t. T star t means it is a variable that can receive n number of arguments. So I am calling this function from this print statement here. Sum tot function I am calling here with this argument starting from 10 to 80. So t will receive these arguments, variable t will receive these arguments and scatter it from 10 to 80. Then after that I am entering the while loop. So while I less than length of t, here length of t is 8 because there are 8 items. So while I less than length of t means I will start from 0 till 7. Then sum is sum plus t of I. So t of I means initial value will be t of 0, that is 10. This loop will be repeated 8 times from t of 0 to t of 7. That is t of 0 value is 10 and t of 7 value is 80. So this loop will repeat and each time the value will be added to the variable sum. So all these values will get added to sum. The loop will get repeated 8 times, 8 iteration will take place and final value of the sum is returned and printed here. So the sum is 360. The sum of all the elements in this tuple is 360. Now next is function returning tuple. Here I am defining a function max min t. I am having a tuple with elements 10 to 40. I am calling the function from this print statement here. So tuple A is passed to this argument 10, 20, 30, 40 is passed to this variable to t here, and maximum and minimum are returned in the form of tuple and getting printed here. So I am printing the maximum, minimum. Max and min are built-in functions in Python. So I am printing that max, min and type of and the data type. So here it is maximum is 40 and minimum is 10. Now next is comparison. Comparison is done. I am doing the comparison of tube 1 and tube 2. Tube 1 is having elements 1, 2, 3 and tube 2 is having elements 1, 2, 4. So when comparison is done, it is done element by element. That is, the first element of tube 1, tuple 1 is compared with the first element of tube 2. Both are same. If both are same, then the comparison of the next element is done. So next element in both the tuples are compared. So that is 2. It is again same. Then it goes to the next element, which is 3 and 4. So 3 is less than 4. That means tuple 1, tube 1 is less than tube 2. So the second print statement, this condition is satisfied. Tube 1 is less than tube 2. So first and third print statement, it will give the output as false and second statement will be true, because tube 1 is less than tube 2, 3 is less than 4. So second one is true, that tube 1 is less than tube 2. Now here we are comparing tube 1 with tube 2. Here the first element is 1. First element of tube 1 is 1 and the first element of tube 2 is 4. So it will not go for checking the next element, because here itself the first element of the first tuple, tube 1 is less than 4. So tube 1 is less than tube 2. So print tube 1 less than tube 2 means it will print true, because the condition is true, because it is true. Tube 1 is less than tube 2. The statement is true. So 1 is because 1 is less than 4. So this is true. Next is the zip function. Here I am having two sequence 1, 2, 3, 4. and ONE1, TWO2, 3 and 4. Result is equal to zip tube 1, tube 2. Means it will zip tube 1 and tube 2 into result, and then it is printing the result. Now zip function takes two or more sequence and zips them into a list of tuples, where each tuple contains one element from each of the sequence. So we will execute this and see. So here it is, the output. It is forming a list of tuples, where each of these tuple will contain element from each of the sequence. That is, the first tuple is containing element 1 from 1 and ONE1. 1 is from the first tuple, ONE1 is from the second tuple. Similarly, one element from each tuple, 2, 2 and 2. So 3 and 3. So it will, the zip function will zip the tuples into a list of tuples, where each of the tuple, output tuple, will contain one element from each of this sequence. Now the next is concatenation, and after that I am printing maximum min of tube 1. So this is my tube 1. So maximum is 4 and minimum is 1. That is getting printed here. Now concatenation. Concatenation is similar to the one which we have seen in the list. So T1 is having elements 1, 2, 3. T2 is having 4, 5, 6. T3 is T1 plus T2 plus is the concatenation operator. So T1, T3 will be clubbing T1 and T2 and printing it. So this is the output T3, which will contain elements from both these tuples. Now repetition is also similar to the one which we have seen in list. Here I am having tube 1 with elements 1, 2, 3. I am printing tube 1 into 4. So 4 times this tuple will be repeated. So 4 times the tuple is getting repeated. 1, 2, 3 is getting repeated 4 times. Now in operator, that is also similar to the list. Here I am having 3 names. First I am printing nickel in tube 1. Nickel is not present in tube 1, so it will give me false. Akshay in tube 1. Yes, Akshay is present in tube 1, so the next print statement will return me true. So false and true. False because nickel is not there in the tube 1. Now this is a code for printing even and odd list from a tuple, from a given tuple. So here in the program, here this is the tuple which is containing all these elements. It is a mixture of even and odd numbers. So I am defining an even list and an odd list here. Now for I in this n tube, the name of the tuple is n tube. For I in n tube means for elements in n tube, if the value of I percent 2 equal to 0, that means if the remainder is 0, that means it is an even number. So if the remainder is 0, I am appending that to the that number to the even list. Otherwise I am appending it to the odd list. So as till for all the elements in the tuple, it will check whether the remainder is 0. If the remainder is 0, it will append to the even list, otherwise it will append to the odd list. And after that I am printing the tuple with even list and the tuple with odd list. So all the elements from this tuple which are even have come in the even list and others have come in the odd list. Hope you have understood this video. If you are having any doubts, you can put in the comment box. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe it. Thanks very much.